Welcome to the American Roadrunner Podcast.
Yeah, glad y'all could join us here today. This is the American Roadrunner Podcast. I'm your host, Mr. Bob Marshall. Here we like to share stories from the road, all tales of spills, thrills, and chills, all the good, bad, and ugly stories from the open road.
I am your co-host, Brian Phillips, and you can find the book American Roadrunner by Mr. Bob Marshall on Amazon in paperback and digital ebook download. You can follow us, see all the shenanigans we get into when we're not at the mic on the website AmericanRoadrunnerthebook.com. You can find this podcast, American Roadrunner the Podcast, on your favorite podcast platforms. That includes iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Podbeam. The list goes on and on.
Spotify, we just got into CastBox. We're pretty excited. We're moving places.
That's right, Spotify. You can also find the American Roadrunner Songs from the Road playlist. Some of the best songs for riding as featured in the book. Oh, American Roadrunner. There it is again. We're going to say it like 7 more times. You can share American Roadrunner Podcast on social media, Facebook and Instagram, and let us know if you love it, hate it. Just make sure you share it and subscribe, and let us know how you really feel. Cheers or jeers, how we're doing, just say hi. Go ahead and email us at AmericanRoadrunnerthebook@gmail.com. Now I'm going to tell you all about our sponsors. You ready for this, Bob?
Dun, 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 dun. The marathon is over. Time for the sponsors.
Sponsors. We are still sponsored by Ride 1K in a Day. They're doing some awesome stuff every time I check it out on Instagram. Again, Ride 1K in a Day. Also, Jake the Flying Dutchman Company. You can find him on Instagram at the Flying Dutchman Co. That is all one word. He does a lot of really good original auto work, bike work, stuff like that. You can also check out bowmonster.com. Mr. Bowmonster is the artist that did the book cover for American Roadrunner. He's also doing some other promotional stuff for us, right? A sticker and stuff.
Glorious. There's so much excitement. You're all going to just have to cruise on down to the Hippie Killer where we have our next booth and check it out because, oh my gosh, it looks good. I'm so excited.
Yeah, we're going to have a bunch of merch with the new American Roadrunner emblem on it and stuff
Amen,
like that.
brother.
And, of course, the music that you've been listening to at the front and the back of this podcast.
Meek.
The song is Here We Are off the album Red Sprite Lightning. If you don't know, that is a gentleman formerly of Alien Ant Farm. What's his name?
Yep, Mr. Ty Zamora, one of my childhood friends. We went to high school together. That is a funny story, actually. We were all sitting around talking about how we were going to be rock stars, and that damn dude went out and became a damn rock star.
That's right.
Good to have him around and have his blessing and using some of his cool music. It's him and the Hill Brothers. Boy, they've been around for quite some time as well, playing in various bands. Those guys are just awesome, talented musicians. Good to have their music on our podcast.
Yeah, good Riverside boys, local. You know what's interesting is when I first came out here to Riverside to live with my father, it was right when Alien Ant Farm was blowing up, and every single person I ran into had a connection to Alien Ant Farm.
That's probably true.
They're like, my mom is a hairdresser, and she cuts, Ty's mom's hair all the time.
There you go. That's
like
cool.
It seemed like
sweet.
1 degree of separation from Alien Ant Farm, no matter where I went in Riverside. It was crazy, and yeah.
Well, I promise I did go to high school with Ty, and there's a lot of people who can verify that. We actually sang in the choral group together, and I sang tenor for a year or two next to him and with him, and he was a hard act to keep up with. That man could really sing. He had one heck of a voice. But then puberty hit, and I started singing bass appropriately. So then we were sitting next to each other, but, singing totally different lines. But we were both tall enough to kind of stand in the center. So the director, one Mr. Dennis E. Smith, the talented Dennis E. Smith from Corona High School Madrigal Group, the choral director there, he was usually put us together. So it was good times.
Can I ask you about some other local bands that I remember listening to? I want to see if you've met any of them. Voodoo Glow Skulls. You know any of those guys?
I remember wrenching on some of their equipment back in the day when I had that shop, Music Max Service Center there in Music Max Music Store, which is at the Lunch Light. We call it the Lunch Light. It's where Central Brockton and Magnolia all come together in Riverside. But
why is it called the Lunch Light? I have to ask.
Oh, you never heard that one?
No, I haven't.
I guess that's an old river. You'd have to be born and raised here. But the answer is, it used to take so long to get through that light, especially with the train tracks right down the road. yeah, you could sit and eat your lunch waiting for that light to turn. So we kind of learned to call it all the lunch light.
Well, that's why that auto body shop right there on the corner probably got all their work
Oh,
people to
yeah.
pull in and get an oil change while they're waiting for the damn light.
That's great. Yeah. Oh, you're thinking of Frank's old place, the Kuma Tires.
Yeah.
Is that? Yeah. Yeah. Well, Frank's passed on. That man lived to be.
Is that the one
94,
like, okay, there's
I
like
think.
Music Mike's, Pepitos or whatever that Mexican restaurant
Yep,
is, and then the
Pepetos.
little auto place?
Oh yeah, so they just do tires. They do all my tires still. Yeah, Kuma tires, and they carry American-made Cooper tires, which I really like for my big trucks. Although I only go in there maybe every 10 years. I mean, but we did business next to each other for years, so you know we're all friends. One heck of a tire store.
Yeah.
Here we are pimping out our local tire store on on the American Roadrunner podcast. They do not do motorcycle tires. I end up just buying my motorcycle tires locally, usually from Chaparral, and I kind of do them myself. Although they have done a few of them for me, but I just take the wheels in. But that's, you know, the mechanic in me.
Mm-hmm.
But lately I've just been buying the tires and coming home and doing them myself. 'Cause it adds up. And one year I'll go through, gosh, some years I only go through 3 or 4 tires, but I've had other years they've added it up for me. I've done 12, 14 tires in a year. I mean, it's nuts. It adds up quick.
You know what? That's something I never really thought about. You know, I kind of know the price of automobile tires. I've bought them quite a few times. You know, they can range from like $100 a tire to $400 a tire.
Yeah.
And you can spend a lot of money. Are motorcycle tires more expensive or cheaper? Because like part of me wants to go, oh, just get a motorcycle. You only have to buy 2 tires, so it's going to be cheaper, 2 instead of 4, right?
Well, it does depend on the scoot. I can tell you, you know, I do my best to buy the best tires that I can because they're consumable. Motorcycles are just tires and batteries. So you got to do your best to buy the best tires and batteries you can for the machines. So for the mechanic corner tonight on the show, the answer is the classic Bridgestone D404 is what a lot of people buy and put on their machines, and they're wonderful, and you'll get, 20,000 miles out of a front tire, maybe 14 out of a rear. The thing is, they're just too hard, in my opinion. So I really don't mind buying the Winstons, you know, for my cruisers. You can get usually 15, 16, 18 out of a front, and maybe 10 or 12 out of a rear. And so they're a little softer, and I just think they really make for that much better of a ride. So I will pick up a Dunlop D404 if that's all they got. But for the most part, I do Winston's. But then on my Goldwing, I got to use the Bridgestones. Like, that's the best tire I can buy for my Goldwing. Yeah, and then but sometimes, obviously on my land speed racing motorcycles, I got to buy specific tires, and I think those are Roadrunners I've got on one, and I had to shave them down. They had to be shaved down, so that was a rather pricey venture. You know, so it all depends, but my favorite these days are the Winstons because they're a little softer, and then the Bridgestones for the big Goldwing. But I don't know, Chopper Charlie keeps talking me into putting a car tire on the back. I might go dirty soon enough.
You know, it is pretty obvious, you know, that the back tire is going to go faster because that's where all the power is. The front tire, it just kind of steers it.
It just follows.
But can you rotate motorcycle tires, or is it like they're unique?
No, they're absolutely unique. They have a direction. You can. I know on my KZ1000s, I enjoy having a fatter tire in front because it's the same 18 rear and back, and it's real hard to find the 18 front tire that I need. And it's even harder to find the 18-inch rear. So I just order 2 18-inch rears, and I just put the rear tire on the front but backwards, and that works fine because it's just the front tire is just following. It's not doing anything. It's just kind of hanging out. It's taking a little bit of the ground. But you're right, everything goes to the back. And on my choppers, I'm lucky to get 6,000-7,000 miles out of a rear tire because there's no shocks. So, but these are numbers most people don't do, you know. But I can haul ass across country on a chopper, put a new tire on, leave, come back a week later, and the damn thing's shredded. You know, I'm ready for a new one. Maybe I got a few hundred miles left on it, whatever. But when you think of hundreds of miles, tires are okay. But I get to thinking thousands of miles, so it's got to add up that way.
Have you ever been out cruising out in the middle of nowhere, and then you get like a tire blowout, You're like, shit, okay, I got this. And you go to put on the spare, and then you realize that the tire that you blew out was the front, and you only have the spare tire for the back. Like, oh, this sucks. That ever happened to you?
No, there's no spare tires on a motorcycle.
What? Say
That's still right. Yeah, so that that doesn't work. No, I'll tell you. I mean, there's two ways to do tires on a motorcycle: either on a mag rim, where there is no inner tube, or on a spoked rim, where of course you'll have an inner tube, to keep all the air in, so the air doesn't leak out through the spoke. So, depending on, obviously, I'm a big fan of the mags. One less thing to worry about. If I do get a flat, I carry a flat repair kit. That's basically just the worms. I get a fresh kit per scoot, usually every other year. I think I pay $5 or $6 for them. And they come with a special tool usually. So I carry those tools. And if I do get a puncture, I just put the worm in there. But then I've got to fill back up the tire. So I do carry, usually I have a can of goop that's compressed. I think the can was $10 or $11. I've used it once. It makes a real mess inside the tire, but it can fill it up. You can do this on the side of the road. Otherwise, I could be stuck trying to go 20 miles on a flat tire, which is just going to kill the tire. So it's easier just to pull over, find the hole. The other thing I've done is, nice. Oh, that's great. Thanks for the bail, Brian. The other thing I've done is, just carried a small compressor. I have a small compressor. It plugs into the cigarette lighter, or I can wire it to my battery. And then, on the side of the road, it may take a few minutes. I usually have to start the bike and let it idle, so the battery keeps up on the juice, so I'm not killing the battery. And then I can just fill the tire up that way. But I've only gotten 2 flats. One of them was just the Schrader valve went bad, so I was able to take the Schrader valve. I could tell it was leaking from the Schrader valve. I was able at a gas station just to take the Schrader valve out, because I do carry a Schrader valve tool. I just covered it in a bit of my balm that I use, a bit of Vaseline based, or which really you'd want to use a silicone product, but you're on the side of the road, so what are you going to do? So I just did that and put it back in, and it sealed up, and I was able to put the tire pressure back in and be good. And the other time, I did get a small leak, so I had to take a small hole, make it a big hole, put a worm in it, and then pump it back up. I've actually never had to use the can that I carry, and it's a few years old. I should probably replace it, because that goop really will make a mess. But the idea is the goop gets in there with the compressed air, and it finds the leak and seals it. But
it's not good to have, huh?
Oh, and it's cheap insurance, and it's a small can. Maybe it's the size of a Coke can, so it's real easy to carry. You can put it right next to, a small can of, I know Bel-Ray makes a really good lube and wax put together that I like to carry. And I know my buddy Press Merriam, he was real big on getting that product out into the masses, but it's a small can.
So it's like a can of goop. That sounds to me like when you're in this the Stampede race. I imagine everybody edging the turns, going back and forth, and hitting each other with chains, trying to get the lead, and then somebody pulls out that can and throws it, and it turns into this goop bomb.
That's great.
And all these motorcycles get stuck in it, and the guys go flying, like Death Race 2000 style, but on motorcycles.
Now that's a good movie. Don't get me wrong.
Heck yeah, it is.
I'm a big
I just went into high
fan.
voice. I like that movie so much. Heck yeah, it is.
It's nothing like that, and there's none of that going on.
Man,
I mean, I'm happy
my fantasies.
I'm happy to leave buddies, like Jer we had on the show. I'm happy to leave him on the side of the road. But for the most part, no, there's none of that's going on.
Boy can dream, right?
Boy can dream. So yes, thank you for asking. But 9 times out of 10, you're not going to get a flat. It's not going to be an issue. If you do have a tire problem, it's probably on the seal or your tube is old. That's another thing. A lot of people, when they get new tires, it can be an expensive venture because you have to go into the motorcycle shop, take your motorcycle, wait a few days for the mechanic to have time to rip the wheels off, and then he can replace the tires, balance them, everything. But if you got tubes, you got to get new tubes every time you get tires. There's just no two ways about it. There's spend the extra $10, get a new tube, and really you're paying for labor to rip the wheels on and off. But if that's what you're comfortable with, cool, do that. I mean, for me, it's not a big deal. Obviously, I've got all the Jackson stands, and I just kind of make my own Jackson stand. So I just kind of make it work. 2x4s and old car scissor lifts. The little car scissor lifts work well. So it's not a big deal for me to put a motorcycle up on one of my home-built wooden, benches that I've got for the motorcycles. They sit about 18 inches off the ground.
Very resourceful with the
logs, there's no reason to overspend money on tooling and stuff.
Stack up a couple of blocks.
Mm-hmm. It works. Then I can take the wheel off, and I can either rip the tire off myself and put a fresh tire on, or like my Goldwing, those are really big tires. It's easier for me just to take it in and spend the $50 a tire and make sure they mount it correctly. They mount it and balance it. Yeah. But it has gotten, I remember, it used to be $30. In the last few years I think it's gone up to $50, $55. So that's why I just started doing it myself, mounting and balancing it myself.
Yeah. Now, Bob, I know you have this love for wrenching. You
Totes.
always love to be working on your own motorcycle, but heaven forbid there is a task, something overwhelming that you just can't do on your motorcycle for one reason or another. Not saying you can't, but
hilarious.
If there was something you couldn't do, where around here would you take your scoot or your motorcycle to get some help, get some repair done?
You're right. It is always a hard question, because I do have people ask me, and the answer is I'm not a motorcycle mechanic. I am my motorcycle mechanic. It's something that I do for my own zen. It's something I do for my own enjoyment. It's all a big science project when it comes to racing. How can we make motorcycles go faster, et cetera, et cetera. But being here in Southern California, we're very fortunate to be in the dirt bike capital of the world, really to be in the Harley capital of California. We just have so much going on around here. So it is pretty exciting. I know, when it comes to Harleys, I know Reed's got, Max Speed Cycles over on Harupa, and Steve's got Speed Kings over on Arlington. Those guys have always been real cool. I've been able to get parts too, if needed, from Bikers Alley. I know they've got a good mechanic. He's got some good machining stuff too in the back. But we even do scooters. We've got a Riverside scooter shop. I know Mike over there, he does one heck of a business, and he's been at it almost 10 years. So, and he's on the other side of the lunch lot from where I used to be. So he's pretty convenient. So if you need scooter stuff, he's got a mechanic working in the back too, just on little scooters. But of course there's always, the chopper place there halfway across town there. That guy has always done a bang up job, and he always has any old Harley part that you need, as well as new Harleys. If it's Harleys, he can really figure it out. He does good stuff. But there's a lot of people, hit up Quaid over in Loma Linda or Riverside Harley. So we're very fortunate to have everybody we could ever use. And then Chaparral, which is the largest motorcycle store in the world, is just right next door in San Bernardino. So, yeah.
I didn't know that. It's the biggest?
Oh, yeah. It's not a joke. Yeah.
So it's like I wouldn't say Walmart, but like Costco size, like motorcycle.
It's bigger than a Costco. It's maybe 2 or 3 Costcos put together, and then they have a few warehouses around it. Yeah, it's no joke. It's a little intimidating. It is nice to take people who come in from out of town, let me show you where I get my consumables from. So yeah.
It's like the Motorcycle Mills. Motorcycle Mall of America.
Thank you. Exactly.
The size of an airport runway.
Yeah, you wouldn't believe it, but no, it's right there off Mills, off the 215 in Purdue. So right down the road. If traffic's good, I can get there in 20 minutes. Good place to buy tires, batteries, lots and lots of motorcycle oil.
You just get lost. Can you ride your motorcycle through there?
Oh yeah, they got tons of parking. Through the
building. It's so big.
They do have tons of motorcycle parking up front.
I did Chaparral Motorsports in 2 minutes.
Right, riding my motorcycle. Of course, Malcolm Smith is right down the road. That guy's a classic racer. He's here in Riverside. And they have some good stuff. But whatever you want to do, a lot of I think wrenching on my own motorcycles is something that was kind of born for me out of want, desire, and necessity. the answer is a lot of my old Japanese stuff, there really aren't people who will wrench on it. There might be a few specialists here and there. And I've kind of learned that every town has that one guy. And if whatever town you're broken down is, there's always that one guy who can help you do whatever you need to do or get the part, whatever you need. You need a coil for some weird old Honda or Kawasaki. He's going to have it, but you got to find that one guy. And that one guy may not be in a storefront. He may be in his house. He may or may not be available. And really, it's a favor of a favor for him to sell you the part that you need that he has from a 30-year-old Japanese motorcycle.
And he may not take money. You may have to barter.
That's right.
And barter, that's a lost art here in America.
Well, I do like to carry a little bit of cash with me anytime I travel. I don't. Some people just carry their card. That doesn't make any sense to me. I just always make sure I got a few bills.
I have gold teeth. If I need them,
that would
pull
probably
them out,
work.
And just use that to buy something.
If you can find someone who would accept it and trade, who knows the value of gold.
Yeah.
Everybody's so busy swiping their cards these days. Cash is king.
Yeah.
So I always like to carry a bit of cash just to make sure I can have it all covered. But yeah, we're real fortunate here. LA's fortunate too. There's a lot of good stuff there, but there's just as much good stuff here in Riverside, and everyone's competing for your dollar. So you're pretty lucky if you're here in Southern California. And the dirt bike is just phenomenal. There's so much dirt bike riding around here.
Yeah, there is.
It's
Miraloma and Lake Elsinore.
Yeah, there are dirt track milestones right down the road. Paris.
Harupa Valley's got some stuff. Yeah, Moreno Valley, Paris, yeah.
It gets a little nuts.
Yeah.
So if you're into dirt biking, I like a little bit of flat track racing, but dirt bike, like I said, I've tried it, and it's a lot of work.
Yeah, the Metal Militia came from out here, right?
So yeah. Yeah,
I think they're the dirt bike guys who were doing the jumps. Long time ago.
I'm not as big of a fan as I should be. I'm more of a fan of land speed racing than dirt bike.
No, I just remember the name back in the '90s. I remember it got big. When I was in high school, everybody was all about the Metal Militia and the Rough Riders. But that's DMX and
DMX
rapper. Did you ever see DMX riding with the Rough Riders? They would ride like motorcycles and ATVs.
No, I don't.
Rough Riders? You don't know
that?
Oh
one.
My gosh, I'm gonna have to take you to school.
That's hilarious.
X gonna give it to you.
I'm excited having a podcast.
Me too, man. Me too.
The other day, I was rapping with a few people and remembering stuff I used to do, stuff I still get to do occasionally. But for those who don't know, I do have the privilege of serving on the presidency for Abate Local 27 here in Riverside. If you don't know what Abate is a motorcyclist rights and safety organization. Abate is the acronym for the American Bikers who aim to educate, and it's great to remind people that it's okay to ride safely and always practice one's riding skills. And as I was chatting with people, they're always busy asking me questions. As I served as safety officer on the board of Abate Local 27 here for many years before I was graciously elected to presidency. But the answer is it's a great excuse to keep up on my skills and keep my chops up and riding. And that's why I do the philanthropy work of assisting other new riders, making sure people have the outlet for answers when they have the questions about riding. And the problem with riding a motorcycle is that we didn't come home from the hospital on motorcycles. We came home in cars. So we know all about cars. We know how to get in, put our seatbelts on, have a good time with it. But when it comes to throwing your leg over a motorcycle, for me, it started as a little dude, and I raced BMX. That was kind of the cool thing to do back in the 80s when I was a little dude. But, and it just kind of spawned from there. So being on two wheels is something I've always been comfortable with. Of course, you got to wear a helmet on a motorcycle. We did not have to wear helmets on our bicycles back then, and I was pretty fortunate enough to have some good BMX sponsorships. I had some pretty sweet BMX bikes back in the day. But as you go through life, it's just a natural progression, and I did not ride for a few years there when I started my family and whatnot, but I rode a little bit in college, and when I wasn't riding in college, I had a convertible, so it was kind of all the same. I had a big 66 wide. Oh, yeah. My big Cadillac would just haul ass down the road, and it was great just to feel the wind in my hair and be open to the elements and not have to worry too much about it. So A motorcycle just gets a lot better gas mileage than an old 66 Cadillac, so it's pretty important to me to enjoy these days. I guess it's the wind up my shirt because there's not too much wind in my hair with a helmet on. The wind in my face. I do like to wear a 3/4 helmet. I think most people prefer full faces. I get it. So whatever people are comfortable with, full face, quarter face, half face, beanie, you're a freaking American. Enjoy it. Unfortunately, we do have helmet laws here in California, which is where Abate, stemmed from. I think it was 92 Abate really got going in the state. And Abate is sanctioned by state. Wherever you are, whatever state you in, you will have a local state Abate, and they're happy to assist you in an education course. A lot of states it's referred to as the Abate education course, where you learn to ride motorcycles. And you start that out with a handbook. So I'm really excited to let y'all know, whether you're a new rider or an advanced rider, you're about to get the lowdown on the California handbook. These particular handbooks are put out every handful of years. This one that I got in front of me is a 2016 with supplement, and we are going to go through it together. Everybody excited?
I am dying to read this.
Well, you're going to get an education. Again, whether you're a new rider or an advanced rider, this is just good medicine.
Now, you know what? I will be interrupting you sometimes.
Please.
I'll try to do it at the period of the sentence and not
Nice.
just go. I'm not gonna try to
Wait,
stop you in the
what's
middle.
that?
What the fuck is that thing?
Nice, nice.
No, I'll try to wait, but I'm asking.
Oops.
I am asking on behalf of the listeners. I am the
Amen,
dumb person
brother.
who knows nothing about this. Going, okay, explain.
We'll have a lot of fun. We're going to start on page 1, not to be confused with any of the previous pages. Introduction. This handbook supplements the California Driver's Handbook concerning traffic laws, safe driving rules, and driver licenses. Study the California Driver's Handbook as well as this handbook. This handbook provides information for both beginner and experienced riders on two-wheel vehicles. Portions of this handbook dealing with safe driving practices rather than traffic laws were developed initially by the National Public Services Research Institution in cooperation with Motorcycle Safety Foundation, MSF. The MSF, California Highway Patrol, California Motorcycle Safety Program, CMSP, various motorcycle enthusiast groups, like Abate, I added that just so you know, and the Department of Motor Vehicles, DMV, agree that combined in quality motorcycle riding education and increasing public awareness has the potential to reduce the number and severity of motorcycle collisions. When using this handbook, remember it is only a summary of laws and regulations. DMV, law enforcement, and courts follow the full and exact language of the law containing in the California Vehicle Code, CVC. Two-wheeled vehicle operation. The basic rules of the road contained in the California Vehicle Code apply to all two-wheeled vehicles, including, but not limited to, motorcycles, motor-driven cycles, mopeds, or motorized bicycles. Mini bikes, tote goats, trail bikes, and similar vehicles may fall within the definition of motorcycle, motor-driven cycle, or motorized bicycle.
What is a tote goat?
I have no freaking clue.
Oh
But boy,
man,
that
we're
sounds
gonna have to
hilarious.
come back to that.
We're gonna have quick. Somebody Google. Somebody
Remind
Google.
us. All right.
Oh my gosh, that's just that I could that.
Yeah,
I'm
let's
laughing.
look up a tote goat.
If any of these vehicles are operated on a highway, they must meet applicable equipment, registration, financial responsibility, licensing, and operational requirements if appropriate. It is illegal to ride a motor-driven cycle, moped, motorized bicycle, or electric bicycle on a freeway or expressway if signs are posted to prohibit operation. Additionally, it is illegal to ride a moped, motorized bicycle, or a Class 3 electric bicycle on a bicycle path or trail, equestrian, horse, trail, hiking trail, or recreation trail unless the path or trail is on or next to a road, or permission to use the trail or roadway is granted by local law. Motorcycles. A motorcycle is a motor vehicle with a seat or saddle for the rider designated to travel on not more than 3 wheels. Motor-driven cycles. A motor-driven cycle is a motorized cycle with less than 150 cc motor size. Note, you may not operate a motor-driven cycle on a freeway or expressway if signs are posted to prohibit motor-driven cycle operation.
I found a picture of a tote goat.
Let's see it.
Okay.
Because, on podcasts, we can see things.
I think it's basically what Miss Bowman has.
Oh, right. They're saying mini bike.
Okay.
Right, or pocket bike. That's hilarious. It's overhead valve, 5 horsepower, usually lawnmower engine bike. Yeah, mini bikes.
Weed whacker with 2 wheels.
That's great.
Wow, tote goat. Never heard of that.
Yeah, me neither. We just, call them rat bikes.
Hey, so
bikes.
email us your tote goat stories,
That's
folks,
right.
at AmericanRoadrunnerThePodcast.com.
Motorized bicycles or mopeds. A motorized bicycle or moped is a 2- or 3-wheeled device capable of no more than 30 miles per hour (mph) on level ground and equipment with fully operated pedals for human propulsion, a motor producing less than 4 gross brake horsepower, and an automatic transmission, no pedals if powered solely by electric energy, California Vehicle Code 406A. Motorized bicycles may ride in a bicycle lane if authorized by local authority and ordinance. Electric bicycles. An electric bicycle is a bicycle equipped with a fully operable pedals and an electric motor of less than 750 watts. 3 classes of electric bicycles have been established. Wow, I had no idea electrical bicycles were this complicated. Class 1, a low-speed, pedal-assisted electric bicycle equipped with a motor which provides assistance only when the rider is pedaling and ceases to provide assistance when a speed of 20 miles per hour is reached. Class 2, a low-speed, throttle-assisted electric bicycle equipped with a motor used exclusively to propel the bicycle and not capable of providing assistance when a speed of 20 miles per hour is reached. Class 3, a low-speed, pedal-assisted electric bicycle equipped with a speedometer and a motor which provides assistance only when the rider is pedaling and ceases to provide assistance when a speed of 28 miles per hour is reached. The operation of a Class 3 electric bicycle. The operator of a Class 3 electric bicycle must be 16 years or older, must wear a bicycle safety helmet, must not transport passengers, may ride an electric bicycle in a bicycle lane if authorized by local authority or ordinance. All electric bicycle classes are exempt from the Motor Vehicle Financial Responsibility, DL, and license plate requirements. California Vehicle Code 24016.
Now, I'm glad you read that because here in Riverside, at least, they are starting to have more and more motorized bicycles. You see these around
we
town?
got them everywhere. Heck, my neighbor has one. He goes hauling up and down the street on it all the time.
Well, I'm not just talking about that. I'm talking about the ones you can rent. Like downtown, there's
the
couple
assisted
of spots where they have you can rent one. There's 10 lined up, and you just pull out your phone, do the app, and then pull it out, and it looks kind of like a regular motorcycle. But then you realize it's got this little unit.
Yeah.
By where the pedals are, and it's a motorized bicycle. So we're starting to see more and more of those, along with the Lime scooters and the Bird scooters.
Yeah, and that's all. The the electric bicycles were part of a grant put down by the city, and I was in on that transportation committee meeting locally. But regardless, our city dollars are hard at work trying to get more people to use electric bicycles. Electrically assisted bicycles.
Or just not using their car, period.
Well, that'd be preferred. And downtown Riverside, #DTR, is working hard to get hip like that. And you see them all over the major cities. So I don't know if there's money in it or not, but good for people for getting out and going for a ride. I just think if you really needed to do that, you just kind of own a bicycle. But really, it's for people who commute. If you needed to get the mile from the Metrolink over to downtown Riverside for work.
Right.
Obviously, the electric bike would make a ton of sense, and it's right there. Although, if you're really doing that on a commuting level, I suspect you just have a bicycle downtown, and you'd keep it stored there all the time. But again, whatever encouraged people to get riding instead of driving, I'm in. The answer to all of it is people could just ride motorcycles and solve all the problems. But what do I know? Yeah. What do I know?
It's a gateway.
It's a gateway.
Bicycles are
electric bicycles and those funny little bird lime things they're all gateway drugs to motorcycles.
Yep, pretty soon you'll be driving your own Rebel.
That would be sweet. Moving on. Motorized scooters. I love all these definitions of all these cool things. A motorized scooter is defined as any two-wheeled device with a motor, handlebars, and a floorboard or standing on when riding, and the options of having a driver's seat which cannot interfere with the operator's ability to stand and ride, the ability to be powered by human propulsion. Note, a motorized scooter may be driven with any Class DL, driver's license, DL. A motorized scooter may not be used to take a skills test. Well, that stinks. A motorized scooter exhaust system must not be modified or altered.
Yeah, so you can't have this thing that buzzes like a tin can down the street. Now, what about the floorboard?
No comment.
I couldn't help but notice it says a motor, handlebars, and a floorboard for standing on when riding.
Yeah, like a step through, really. Step through scooter.
So do all motorcycles have a floorboard, or is it just...
No, they've got this is motorized scooter.
Okay. So it's just scooters have that.
Yeah,
okay.
It's a step through. That's what defines it as a scooter.
I wasn't sure if I was missing something. I was like, I've never seen the floorboard of a motorcycle on.
No, yeah. I mean, you can have, pedal boards on a motorcycle. Some of my motorcycles have them. Your whole foot fits on them versus just a peg.
Okay. I get it. Okay.
And actually, so now we get to the exciting part. This is license requirements. Just in case you're ever interested, what it takes to get an actual motorcycle license you need to legally operate a motorcycle. Danger, Dan. License requirements. California issues the following DL classes for two-wheeled vehicle operations. Class M1. You may operate any two-wheel motorcycle, motor-driven cycle, or motorized scooter and all vehicles listed under Class M2. Note, the permit and DL, driver's license, requirement in this handbook pertain to two-wheeled vehicles and are referred to in California Vehicle Code 12804.9. Class M2. You may operate any motorized bicycle, moped, or motorized scooter. Note, Class C licensees may operate a motorcycle with sidecar attached, three-wheeled motorcycle, or motorized scooter. All right.
So that's basically saying you can have a car driver's license if it's got a sidecar.
Or those handy new little spider things.
The big tricycle.
Yeah. You can do that with a motorized car license.
So it's kind of cheating. You don't have to take the motorcycle test. You can just buy a three-wheeled.
That's correct. But on Can-Am's defense, who makes the Spider, they came out with a big push several years ago on this is a Can-Am Spider. You don't have to have your motorcycle license to own it and operate it, but we recommend it. So props for Can-Am.
So what's the difference? Okay, so the Spider, is that the one with the two wheels in the back or the one wheel in the front?
No, two wheels in front, one wheel in back.
Okay. And then I've seen the tricycles, which are one wheel in front, two
tracks,
wheels in back.
Yeah.
Okay.
And tracks can either be like old Volkswagens with a motorcycle frame put on the front, or an actual motorcycle with a rear end belt on it. Yeah, they're quite large and awesome.
I'd love to talk to somebody about that. Riding a three-wheeled, machine. The differences between what you're talking about, the Spider and the tricycle. Like
how they
handle differently, speeds.
Well, they do handle quite a bit differently. From what I've heard and seen, I've never operated one. I have operated a motorcycle with a sidecar, which is really different. It takes a while to get used to. And some people, it's medical. I know my pops was ready to get a sidecar right before he passed because he just had so much neuropathy and he couldn't feel his feet, and it wasn't uncommon for him to fall over on his motorcycle at a light, and usually he fell onto me, or the car next to us. So I give him props for keeping it going. So I'd rather see someone out rocking with a sidecar than not rocking a scoot at all, or a track, or whatever they got to do,
You know what? We got to relabel it. If it's going to be cool, we can't call it a motorized tricycle. We have to call it a outrigger motorized. Or
That's hilarious.
Motorized outrigger or something, you know.
Join the revolution.
Outrigger on wheels.
Yeah, no, I reckon there's going to be Spiders, and there's going to be tracks, and there's going to be Volkswagen tracks, and there's going to be sidecars, and
outriggers. I'm going to copyright that so I can make an outrigger.
This is great.
Yeah.
I love it.
Screw this podcast. I'm going to make me some money.
So how to learn how to earning your license. Earning your license. Safe riding requires knowledge and skill. Testing two-wheel vehicle operators is the best measurement of the skills necessary to operate safely in traffic because people often overestimate their own abilities. DMV's licensing tests are designed to be scored objectively. You may apply for a Class M1 or M2 driver's license at any DMV field office which provides driver's license services. To obtain your driver's license, refer to the requirements for a motorcycle M1 or M2 license section, see page 5. You will be required to pass the driver's knowledge test. Motorcycle knowledge tests, or any other license classes requested, and pass a motorcycle skills test or obtain a certificate of completion of motorcycle training, the DL389, as defined in the California Motorcycling Safety Program Training Course section, see page 6, which basically means if you take a safety class, they can and will pass you on your skills test, the DL389. So when you show up to the DMV, you do not have to take a skills test via operation of the motorcycle. You can simply just walk in, take the written test, and then they hand you your M1, which is what I did. I took the course that the Honda Riding Center right over here in Colton offers, which was a wonderful experience because I was able to take it with my pops. Unfortunately, my pops was, I think I told the story, but they'd give you 20 minutes to do a section in the book, and he'd have it done in 2 or 3 because he was a speed reader. Kind of pissed everybody off. But regardless, it was something my dad and I did, 15 years ago. And he just kind of did it because he had let his motorcycle license lapse back in the 80s or something. Anyways, it was great. We just spent 2 days. Half of the first day was all classwork, and then the other half of the day we were out on these little rebels, just killing it in circles and starting at the beginning and going from there. So I'm a huge fan. And then the second day was all out doing skills. So I'm a huge fan of that. I think it was like $200 for the whole weekend. So when you want to ride, take a class. It's a lot of fun. Heck, I've seen even bachelorette parties out there taking motorcycle classes. I'm just saying, $200 for a weekend of entertainment, that's pretty good stuff. Enjoy. Knowledge test questions are based on information in this handbook and the California Driver's Handbook. The motorcycle skills test is conducted in either an actual traffic environment or a controlled off-street area. And then they have these great charts just so you can lay it all out. But at the bottom of the charts, the answer is the tests include at least the driver's knowledge, motorcycle knowledge, and motorcycle skills. An observation road test is required for applicants who have never been licensed for any class of motor vehicle and apply for a motorcycle-only license. I'm not going to lie, I've met a few people who do not have California driver's licenses, but they do have motorcycle licenses. It literally just says M1 on their license because naturally I did not believe them. And they're like, nope, see, M1 only. Class equals M1. It's awesome. Good for them. Note 1. Minors 15 and a half years old or older, but under 17 and a half years old, must submit a driver's license 389 form, bring proof of completion of both driver's education and driver's training or having a Class C driver's license, and pass both the driver's knowledge and the motorcycle driver knowledge test. Boy, they're pretty hardcore about that. Note 2. Applicants 18 years old or older but under 21 years must submit a DL389 and pass both the driver's knowledge and the motorcycle driver knowledge test. Note 3. While not a requirement, motorcycle license applicants 21 years old or older are encouraged to enroll in a California Motorcycle Safety Program, CMSP, training course. Not required, but I recommend it and encourage it. Note 4. The Class M1, M2 instruction permits includes the following restrictions. No carrying passengers, no freeway driving, no nighttime driving. And by driving, they mean riding. But the answer is, while you're under permit, you cannot carry passengers, you cannot haul ass on the freeway, and you can't cruise around at night.
Oh, so you can have a motorcycle permit just like a driving permit.
Yeah.
Before you, yeah. So when you're like a teenager, you're like 15 years old, you can get
15
the
and a
permit.
half. If you've got, as it just said, if you have your regular license permit.
Yeah, okay. I didn't know that.
It all falls under the DL389. Note, the DL389 is valid for 12 months from the issue date. To locate a DMV field office that offers a motorcycle skills test and or blah, 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 schedule an appointment, visit www.dmv.ca.gov or call 1-800-777-0133. So next time, we're going to be starting with the California Motorcyclist Safety Program Training course. Please join us. I got to tell you, this is a lot of fun. I'm really excited to hand this information out. Again, whether you've been through it 20 years ago, 10 years ago, 2 years ago, 2 months ago, enjoy the reading of it.
Now, just a little advisory. This is the California motorcycle.
Correct.
Safety handbook. So laws are different from state to state. I mean,
give or take,
that.
There's a few different ones, but for the most part, 99% of this handbook will apply to the other 50 states.
Like the most visible ones, I think, are like helmet laws and
lane sharing.
splitting. Yeah, lane sharing.
We call it lane sharing. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, those are the main ones, I guess, to know from state to state. But it's good to know whatever state you live in, what the laws are, so you don't get pulled over for going, hey, I listened to this podcast.
Nice.
This is how they do it in California.
American Roadrunner podcast taught me. Well, and that's a wonderful thing about being a member of Abate. I've got full lists on, believe it or not, like in Arizona, it is illegal to ride a motorcycle without some type of safety eyewear on. And that makes total sense. I mean, after 20 miles an hour, if something hits your eye, it's going to end up in the back of your brain. So there's just no reason to ride without safety eyewear on. However, in California, it's not written as a law. And again, I know this because I'm a member of Abate. And this is the benefit of being a member of Abate. And if y'all are out there listening, feel free to join your local Abate and support.
Yeah. Well, people in Arizona can tell you the critters out there are fucking huge. So one of those things.
They're huge everywhere.
Yeah, but their grasshoppers are the size of crows out here in California. So
we got a lot of bees.
Yeah, bees. Yeah.
We got a lot of bugs. The front of my motorcycle, my face will tell you. We got rocks. We got everything. You name it. Put your darn safety eyewear on.
You just hit a cloud of bees and they just pelt you. Has that happened to you? Just hit a cloud or something?
Yeah, I went right by a bee farm once, and the bees were active, and I felt one or two go up one sleeve, and then I felt 3 or 4 go up another, and by the time I stopped down the road, I realized I had been stung like 7 times, and I thought, this could be really bad. So I was at a gas station. I just, there's nothing. Obviously, I pulled all the stingers out. They all just got stuck up my jacket, and it was a hot day, so I wasn't wearing gauntlets on my gloves, so it all just went up my jacket. And just a reminder, it's okay to wear a glove with a bit of gauntlet on it for that reason. And I just started pounding water to flush it out of my system, and I was okay. But I know a lot of people, they say once you get stung 6 times by bees that, you kind of go into anaphylactic shock no matter what you're. But I got real lucky. I was stung 7 times without issue.
Wow.
But other than that, it might happen every now and then, where they fly up a pant leg.
Well, I'm glad that you pulled over to take care of business.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, you might have died.
You never know. I did feel a little weak, but yeah, that was right over in Hemet on the
bee's knees. I got these all.
You got the jokes, Bri.
I got them.
That was pretty good. So yes, next time we'll start up again with the safety program training course and all that's required from that. We're going to be having a good time. Feel free to follow along, refresh yourself. Everyone be good to yourselves. Be good humans.
Yes. I'd like to tell you again, you can find the book American Roadrunner by Bob Marshall on Amazon in paperback. Ebook download. You can follow us on AmericanRoadrunnerthebook.com. Find our podcast everywhere you can listen to podcasts. And check out our playlist on Spotify along with the podcast, the American Roadrunner Songs from the Road playlist.
Amen. And above all, don't forget to share your stories and check out the website for other people who are sharing stories. I've gotten a few lately. They've been a lot of fun to edit and post. Feel free to catch up with that. And seriously, it's a great outlet for publishing your stories, making sure other people has the ability to share in them. I know I've been real lucky to share my story with you in authoring my book, and so I'm real excited to have you share your story with me. Feel free to just simply email them. It's all on the website, but you can email them to AmericanRoadrunnerthebook.com. I'm happy to edit them, make sure they're all good, whether it's 200 words or 2,000. We don't need anything too lengthy, but if you want to get that lengthy, let's talk about, you authoring your own book, and we'll get that out.
Yeah.
Also, just so you know, we've been pretty fortunate lately. Our good friend Renee Walker has been real busy moving the book around town, so we got it at a few good places, including Made of Riverside. Now, Made is a pretty neat shop. They host a lot of neat stuff from local talent, craftsmen, all the good stuff. They're on the 6300 block of Magnolia, a few doors down from the Sire Bar and Grill, which is real close to the lunch lot that we were just talking about. But American Roadrunner book is on display and for sale there, as well as Renaissance Books, which is on Elizabeth Street, about a mile away from that, and also at Downtown Bookstore in Riverside, which is on Main Street. So if you happen to be in Riverside and interested in picking up the book, you can find it at those locations. Very nice to be a local author and have these places host the book for us. They're pretty excited to move them. Thanks again for joining us, folks. Tracy, Brian, you guys are awesome as always. I appreciate all your production, co-hosting, and editing skills. Lucky us.
Well, thank you for having us. We appreciate you, and audience, we appreciate you as well. See you next time.
This podcast is just a good excuse for us to sit around, drink coffee, and tell bad jokes. So, thanks y'all for joining us. Keep the rubber side down.
With your phone